In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus is, it's probably close to the start of his ministry, but I want you to know this, and the title of the message is don't let your self-righteousness keep you out of heaven. And what he's doing, he's talking to these people, and it's called a Sermon on the Mount, and he's laying out some doctrine to them. What is doctrine? Doctrine is truths. That's what doctrine is. There's false doctrine and there's true doctrine, and doctrine means truths out of the Bible, okay? And that's what Jesus is laying out. So in the crowd, it was a big old crowd. It was a big crowd, but in this crowd, they were scribes and Pharisees in there also, okay? Along with unsaved people and believers. So I want to try to show you something tonight if you can. And I want to take a little different take on it, but that's okay. That's what we do sometimes. Starting verse number 1. This is going to be Jesus speaking. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. When he's telling this blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek. In the crowd there, you have some people who think that, and I'm not going to be mean, I'm just going to say, the prosperity is related to godliness. In other words, the Pharisees were sitting there. They had the money, they had the prestige, they had the education, and what he's doing, he's going directly after them because they had always been taught that if you were poor, it's because God wasn't blessing you. If you had problems in your life that you mourned for, God wasn't blessing you. But I tell you what, Jesus Christ said right here, you're blessed, okay? So that kind of, it's a word of faith. That kind of, I'm being mean, but I'm not trying to be mean. I'm saying, Jesus Christ said that you would have tribulation. Jesus Christ said that the way He grows you is to let you go through stuff. It's not, He don't grow you by giving you blessings. He don't grow you by giving you stuff. He grows you by taking stuff away. Okay? Or bringing things into your life that are hard on you to help you to grow. Do we understand that? Okay, that's contrary to some teaching today, but that's okay. Okay, so in this crowd right here, he's calling out the Pharisees because each one of these things he says was contrary to what they had been teaching. Okay? You with me? So I want to show you. Let's flip over to verse number 20. And remember who's in the crowd. These are poor people. These are people who are having a hard time. These are people. They're just hungry for righteousness. Okay, they want to understand what the kingdom of God really is like. So watch this. Here he calls them out again. For I say unto you that except your righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of God. Now look at the scribes and the Pharisees. Who were the righteous people in society? It was them. They were the ones that had the nice clothes on. They were the ones that washed their hands before they ate. They were the ones who could say, I've never done this, I've never done that, I've never done this, because they were under the law. And they were telling the truth when they said they hadn't done it because that's the way they lived. But what was their heart like? That's what Jesus was getting at here. Okay? So he's calling them out. Is it wrong to call people out sometimes? Do it in love, especially if it's a brother, especially if it's a sister, especially if it's a believer. But here's and this came up in Tuesday night, and that's the reason I wanted to teach on this, because I've always had this question about, go over to verse number 27, and it's got to do with righteousness. Let's just read them right quick and look at them. Ye have heard, where have you heard? He's talking to the Pharisees. they taught the Old Testament. You have heard. That was the Old Testament he's referring back to. You have heard that it was said by them of old, thou shalt not commit adultery. And guess what the Pharisees are doing when he's saying that? They're sitting there going, yeah, I hadn't done that. Jerry can say that. Yeah, I hadn't done that. I haven't done that. But what's this heart like, man? What's this heart like? That's where the Lord's going to be looking. But that's what they're doing. They're sitting in the crowd. Oh, yeah. And it's when the preacher's preaching on something that we can say, oh, yeah, you know. We do sometimes. I do. Yeah, I ain't guilty of that, Pastor. So preach on. Preach some more on that. That's what they were doing. They were sitting there going, yeah, I haven't done that. But they were being self-righteous guys, okay? Ye have heard that it was said by them of old that thou shalt not kill. Excuse me. Oh, I went to the wrong place. Verse number 28. But I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. I'm like, well, I got the first one. I didn't do the first one. But that second one, wow. If you're a man, you look. And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying you look and you don't dwell, okay? You don't want to be dwelling. But if you don't look, you're blind, okay, as a man, okay? So what's Jesus saying? He's saying, Pharisees, you're being self-righteous. You're thinking that because you haven't committed adultery, that you can be looking at a woman any way you want to be looking at them. And it's okay. No, what we're dealing with is the heart, what's on the inside. Don't let somebody tell you what a great person you are, okay? I know we need to be built up sometimes, especially teenagers. Teenagers and children, you need to build them up. But you can't build them up with false hope, false expectations. Because guess what? When they get out in the real world, it's going to slam them, okay? And that kind of false hope, that kind of false expectation is nothing more than an emotional thing that when it comes to everyday life, when it comes to the tire meeting the road, as they say, the rubber meeting the road, it don't work. It just don't work, brother. I'm going to show you where my confusion was. And I wasn't confused. I just wanted to see what y'all think about this. Verse number 29. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. Now that's always been the thing that I said. Jesus wants you to pluck your eye out if you look at the wrong. And you know it's not a literal thing, right? But you know what the Pharisees are sitting there doing? The Pharisees were sitting there going, and they did this too. I haven't looked at a woman the wrong way. So what were they depending on to get them? They were depending on their works to get them to heaven. They were saying, see that right eye right there? Chris, I have not used that right eye to look at a woman in the wrong way. That right eye is going to do what for me? It's going to get me entrance into heaven one day. That's not what Jesus is trying to teach there. Through Him, not through your self-righteous acts, are you going to make an entrance into heaven one day. You're going to make an entrance into heaven one day by what's listed in these first 10 blessings right here. If you look at them when it starts out, what's this first one? Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. Blessed are they that mourn. You know what that is? That's salvation. It starts out as salvation. If you keep reading it, it goes from salvation to sanctification, and in the end, it's for service. This is Jerry. This is just Jerry. You're saved. You're sanctified. That means set apart for service. It's called the 3 S's, SSS. But I like to remember it like that. So, if you read if you read those 10 things, the first part's talking about being saved. The middle part's talking about sanctification. And then the last part, it says, blessed are you when men revile you for my name's sake. That's when you get to the point you don't care no more. It's like Teresa said, it's not about her anymore. It's not, Pastor says it's not about him anymore. Jerry says it's not about him anymore. It's about Jesus Christ, okay? Let me get the other one right there and I'm done. Was that a 2-minute warning? Okay. And verse number 30. And if thy right hand, they're putting their trust in the right hand. It's not that the right hand's going to do something wicked. They're putting their trust in their right hand because they've never done this. If thy right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. What he's saying is this. This is the conclusion. Whatever you're dependent on to get you into heaven, your good works. And it's inside of you. Don't say it's not. Even when you get saved, the desire to do good works for the sake of trying to please your Lord is inside of you. You want to do good works because it's the right thing to do. You're not going to get God to love you more by the amount of times you come to church. You're not going to get God to love you more by the amount of money you give. You're not going to get God to love you more by the amount of good works you do for the poor. He loves you just like you are. Okay? And unless you don't want to depend on this eye or this hand or these righteous acts, righteous deeds to get you into heaven one day. Okay? You want to depend on Jesus Christ. Amen.